Here we are on our monthly update. Global has reached its next major update featuring two new characters, Poly and Lugner. I've said it before and I'll say it again, I still don't really like Poly's design. It still just feels weird to me. Also, did you guys know that she's a deer? I think that's what she is by taking a look at some promo art. I mean, you could see her, right? Those antlers on her head, those stubs on her feet, I think those are called hooves. That's what it is, right? Yeah, I'm pretty sure that's what it is. To get things started, we'll go over Poly's kits first. She's part of the Dark, Healers, and Rebirth faction. For her talent, for every unit within a certain range, depending on the star level, increases her attack and defense. When her AoE deals damage to at least 3 different enemies at 3 and 4 stars, or 2 enemies if at 5 and 6 stars, she will also lower their defense, while also gaining a buff that lets her be immune to debuffs and have reinforcement all for 2 turns. That is insane. Their attack and defense up is really nice, the defense down on enemies already sounds really great, and having those 2 additional buffs is adding the cherry on top of that. So yeah, really good stuff right here. For her toughness bond, she will need Licorice and also Pacifier for her strength bond. Her unique 1C has a 4-turn cooldown that has a 1 block range. It causes a displacement effect that moves the target behind her. So if this skill is able to displace the enemy, and if Poly is on the defensive tile, she is able to act again. Her 2C has a 2-turn cooldown that reaches 3 blocks wide and long, that pushes the enemies back by 2 blocks. Her other 2C has a 3-turn cooldown that reaches 3 blocks around Poly. It randomly disables one of the enemy's equipment effect, but on a regular enemy, it reduces the stats by 25% for 2 turns. Then her 3C, which has a 6-turn cooldown that reaches 6 blocks long and 3 blocks wide. When using the skill, she increases her attack and defense while moving herself and enemies along the way with her. You also are able to clear any kind of special terrain effects to apply her own, in which, when non-flying allies move onto this tile, they have 1 chance to ignore mobility reduction. After doing all that, she then does a second AoE within 2 blocks around her that can randomly stun 1 to 3 enemies for 1 turn. Something else about the skill is that for every 4 round or turn, the range on the skill is reduced by 1 up to a max of 3, only in PvP. This small girl is gonna be hitting extremely hard. Lots of attack increase in her kit, even buffing herself up just by using her 3C. Lots of good stuff coming from her talent, and an insane 3C as well, with an incredible amount of range. To add even more, she also has a revive skill as well. I don't think there's really much to really criticize about her. I mean, she is gonna be one of the best AoE attacker we have yet. Well, I guess I could say mobility, but with the range on her 3C, it kinda makes up for it. Because the way how you wanna use her is that you always want to use her 3C first so that she gets closer to her opponents. Then afterwards, if she somehow lives, you can follow up with another AoE skill. Plus, if you got something like Apex Boots or have the Breeze enchant on her, then you're pretty solid with her. Poly for regular content, I wouldn't really recommend it if you're new around here. She can be fairly decent, yeah, which is the case for a lot of characters. But unless you don't really have a team that revolves around her factions, then I wouldn't really bother with her. Unless you don't have a lot of options to use. Cause this girl really only shines the best in PvP. Next up is Lugner. I'm honestly really excited about this guy. It's been a while since we got a new healer, and he's a very good one at that. He's part of the Glory, Strategy, and Rebirth faction. His talent will increase his healing effect for every ally within 3 blocks. At the start, he can apply 1 stack of Law onto the enemy and when he ends his turn. If the enemy triggers the Law, then they get 2 stacks of Sin, which cannot be dispelled or be immunized, that can stack up to 7 times. It gives effect on the enemies like if they have 4 stacks of Sin, then their damage taken is increased and their attack and int are reduced. If at 7 stacks, then they are silenced. But if the enemy doesn't do anything that causes them to get those stacks of Sins, then they lose 1 stack of it. But if they do it in 2 consecutive turns, then they completely lose all of it. The way how they get more and more stacks of Sin is by if they move more than 3 blocks, use a support skill, and before they deal any damage. By the way, Lugner has to activate one of these when he ends his turn. So you'll have to predict what your opponents will be doing if you want to really make the most out of this. For his bonds, he will need Lolly Jessica for his toughness bond and Ares for his strength bond. His 1C is pretty much another version of the heal skill, but instead can make that character he chooses to heal into a holy class. That character will be able to give the enemy 2 stacks of Sins before entering battle. Then afterwards, you'll heal right afterwards for 2 turns, which cannot be dispelled. There is quite a few ways that you can use this skill, that's other than healing. For one, on a team with Lightbringer, if you use a skill on someone like Neozerida, who can be both infantry or demon, Lugner is able to change her to Holy. If Lightbringer faction buffs, then Neozerida will actually get buffed by her. So yeah, that's something that could be really huge, but you can also use this as a way to simply give pretty much Tierra's talent buff, but only on one character at a time. His Thxs has a 2-turn cooldown that allows you to select one enemy to apply Discipline, where they get applied by all of the laws effect. If they have at least 4 stack of Sin while having this Discipline effect, then they are stunned for 1 turn. Also, as long as the Discipline is active on the enemy, then at the end of Lugner's turn, he is able to heal his team within 3 blocks of him. Finally, his 3C. It has a 1-turn cooldown that reaches 3 blocks long and has a 3-block range. The passive causes an enemy that doesn't have Sin to gain 2 stacks of it after he ends his turn. And when the enemy triggers a law, they get a random debuff. The skill heals your team while dispelling 1 debuff, then after taking action, after using this, enemies with Sin will be afflicted with the number of debuffs that's equal to whatever stacks of Sin they have. So if the enemy has 4 stacks of Sin, then they get 4 debuffs. And most of the debuffs that Lugner can give are mostly weakening debuffs. So stuff that lowers your attack, defense, and crit and all that are the ones that Lugner can give onto the enemies. For a healer, this man is doing so much more than that. I feel like contents like Ancient Beckoning, I feel like this guy will be favored as a way to just weaken the bosses. Even in PvP, this guy can really screw you over. I would say the only real issue is that there will be times where you can easily get those stacks of Sin to build up, and times where you'll slowly build those up, depending on what the enemies are doing. And I think that's one of the biggest reasons why we don't see Lugner a whole lot in PvP. I mean, this guy can handle any type of team comps, but I feel like rush comp, he might struggle on that. Another reason maybe is because some people barely like to run healers these days. There could be more reasons like Rosen being a counter against this, and the fact that you can dispel these. But these are the only reasons I can really think of right now on top of my head. Just kinda suck the way the meta is right now. Otherwise, I could see quite a bit of people using this guy much more often. For the exclusive equipment that we'll be getting, one of them is a helmet for Ricky. When battling enemies that's in his defense position from his talent, he deals 10% more damage, and gets a 5% increase to his skill if Shelfania is on the map. The second is also a helmet for Ashemar that gives her 10% HP. If she has a dance partner, the skill damage is increased by 10%. When she or her dance partner ends their turn, you gain a certain immunity buff on whichever dance position that you're in. Close position, which I'm guessing is the one that increases your offensive stats, will give you fixed damage immunity, or that could be the defensive one. Handhold, which I'm also assuming is the defensive one, unless it's the offensive one, will give you immunity to being silenced. Then Promenade, which is most likely the one that lets you move again after attacking, lets you be immune to mobility down. This equipment for Ashemar is really good. Even though it really encourages you more to use her near her dance partner, Ricky exclusive is alright, but could be a little bit better. Barely anyone uses Shelfania anymore, no less in a team with Ricky, and that skill damage increase is hardly even rewarding. If you're getting this for Ricky, you're mainly doing it for the damage increase, and that's pretty much it. Onto the new set of casting skills. First one is for Ilucia. The Frozen Clutch skill command range is increased by 1, which is her 3C by the way. When battling enemies in water, her damage increases by 20%. Second is for Night Mystery. Int is increased, and after taking action, if she moves a total of 20 blocks, her int is increased and gets a +3 mobility for 1 turn. Third is for Renata, whatever how you say it. Her attack increases, and before battle, she can give the target Dragon Seal, and the cooldown for this effect is 1 turn. Last one is for Kuwabawa. His attack increases by 10%. After he uses his 3C skill, he can attack again, and buffs on him do not lose their turn duration. This right here is really huge on him. As an SR character, I think he got the best one out of all of these sets. A really big game changer for him. Night of Mystery is a close second because it does require a few turns for her to gain those buffs. Ilucia is nice to have, and Renata as well, although it does require her to be in battle in order to apply Dragon Seal. And one thing I'm curious about is, I wonder if it even applies even if she doesn't really attack. Like let's say she gets attacked from 2 blocks. Will that also work with her? If it does, then that would be pretty cool. As for new banners, there's a wishlist banner featuring characters only from Langrisser 1, 2, and 3. This will be the last time I talk about this since we can start expecting this to come every month. We also got another wishlist banner featuring characters only up to Lostam and Ashemar. Really great if you're missing someone that you're really interested in or need someone to pull for bonds. This banner though should show up on the 3rd week of this update, which is super unfortunate unless Globals does something different. Not only that, a new equipment banner that should appear a week after the update goes live. The weapon on this banner increases int, and after battle, you have a 100% chance to make the enemy not be able to receive any buffs for 1 turn. The armor on this banner gives 5% increase to your defense and magic defense, also when you're guarding, by 10%. The helmet gives 10% HP and increases your attack by 8% when being forced into battle. The accessory will increase all stats by 5% as well as being immune to stun and passive being disabled. The accessory is alright, I would say, for someone like Landius and Poly, since they do have a passive skill that lets them revive. But honestly, I would give them a better accessory that I would be more worried about or would benefit them a lot more. The weapon is really nice. You can give this to any single target mages. The armor is whatever. I guess you can give this to Ledin or Juggler if you want to maximize their attack. In most cases though, you want something that helps further reduce the damage you take. The helmet though, at first thought, it looks good, which it could be, but if you considered being ranged attacked, then the benefit from this helmet becomes useless. If you really want something that helps boost your damage, then the Fury tier would be so much better to use. Or you can use the Aeneas helm, which is one of the best defensive helmet that you can use. Maybe if the helmet was like when entering battle in general, then maybe this helmet could be pretty good. As for new content we'll be getting, Part 4 of the Ragnarok stages, as well as a Farmable story event, where you collect materials and exchange them in for rewards. Also, to help you guys get an idea, these are the total amount that you will need to exchange everything. Much love to the person providing us with this info, you rock. Some new skins that we can expect, the Echo of Light for Poly and Lugner. Lugner design looking really nice. Really liking all the details on this one. Poly though, Then for the Machalato, it's a skin for Archon that includes 5 other skins in the pack. There we have it. That's about everything. If not, then most of everything that us global players will be getting in this upcoming update. I may try and pull on the new banner. If I do, then it'll mostly just be for Poly. If I do get Lugner, then I will be doing a showcase for him. And speaking of that, the showcase may not come until later, like much later, just because I don't really have a whole lot of vouchers or pistols at the moment, so I'll have to be really lucky to pull for them. Plus, I am looking forward to the next 2 months on the new characters that we'll be getting. I also recently pulled for Theon, so I'm still in the middle of making a showcase for him and doing everything else for him. So yeah, I got a lot of ideas, most of which aren't really planned out yet, so who knows how long all that will take. I've also been thinking about making some other type of videos that I've been thinking of for a while for Langrisser, so that might be interesting, but we'll see if I ever get to it. Anyways though, if you guys enjoyed the video, leave a like and subscribe if you want to see more, and feel free to let me know down in the comments what you guys are looking forward to in this update. But yeah, thanks for watching. Your fellow Z.